Welcome to another episode of Argument Saturdays, and this week I decided to take a look at Anastasia. I had considered looking at some Bible movies, and while they're animated shorts, I honestly think I might be better off just not talking about them. It'll probably take me down a road that is just best avoided. So yeah, I guess if you really want to twist my arm, you can ask for them. I probably will try to avoid any serious discussion about the theological implications of the stories if I can, because I don't want to get dragged into that kind of mess. I'm a non-believer, so talking about God can sometimes get me just royally pissed off, because I find it a self-contradictory concept most of the time, and that's all I really want to say about it right now. But yeah, let's get back to the topic at hand, Anastasia, 1997 release. So yeah, I already discussed a cheap knockoff direct-to-video version that's not based on this film necessarily, but more of a loose retelling of the fable of her survival. And let's be upfront about this. This movie is not historically accurate in any shape or form for the most part. While some of the events it does mention did in fact happen, for the most part the film plays very loose with history. So it's almost not worth discussing how historically accurate it is, because when it does hit on accurate points, it's almost always not relevant considering how much else is wrong. A good point of this is that Anastasia's age, it would be 15 at the time some of the events of the opening of the film took place, yet she's 8, so then they can have her be 18 when the main film takes place. You know, so they can not have a 25-year-old as the main character, because they want to have like a young teenage like Disney princess like character. And let's face it, this movie is very much like a Disney princess movie. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because let's face it, Disney set sort of a gold standard when it came to animated works at the time, and it's hard not to want to be like the best. Okay, imitation, they say, is the sincerest form of flattery. So I suppose Disney should be quite flattered that when Don Bluth made this film, he decided to take their formula and run with it. But is it a bad film? Not really. It's actually pretty well animated, but there are some mistakes. The ballet scene is where a good chunk of them happen in the movie. When they're, I shouldn't say ballet, when they're practicing doing the waltz on the ship. There's quite a few. I'll point them out with some clips here. Another issue you might take with the film is that the ending feels a bit weak, in my opinion. There's almost no reason for Dimitri to run off and elope, in my opinion, with Anastasia. I mean, they could just as easily just have Dimitri knighted. After all, he did save Anastasia and the Dowager Empress back in the castle, according to this movie. And he found Anastasia and brought her back to the Empress, so there's no reason why you couldn't argue that instead of getting the money, he'd rather have a knighthood. After all, that would make a relationship between him and Anastasia more acceptable. And if you're going to play as loose with history as they did, I don't see why knighting Dimitri isn't a possibility, whether it makes sense or not. I mean, like I said, if you're going to play loose with history in a historical, fiction-y fantasy tale, then why not? I mean, you might as well have the happiest ending possible. Anastasia gets recognized back to being a princess, or a Grand Duchess if you prefer, and she's going to marry the knight Dimitri. I mean, there's no reason not to do that ending, in my opinion. Song-wise, some of them are hit and miss. I don't care too much for If You Can Do It, I Can Learn to Do It. If anything, my favorite song would probably have to be when Rasputin's singing about letting his evil shine and all that shit. I don't know why, I just like that song quite a bit. I honestly remember finding a video a long time ago where someone actually did a Harry Potter music video with that. I don't know if you can call it music, put clips to that song. So yeah, that might be one of the only songs that really jives with me, and I'm not sure why. I just like it for some reason. But yeah, this isn't a bad animated movie to see. It's not too flawed, I mean, all things considered. Though this definitely should not be considered a historical fiction, really. It's more like a historical fantasy. Until next time, then. See ya.
I'd give her a ha, then a hi-ya, and then a woo-ah, and I'd kick her, sir.